All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you right here on Your World. It is exactly 8 a.m. and that tells you that it is time for us to have very important conversations that we usually have right here on the show. And today's case is not different. All right, we'll be talking about TVETs and the future of work as far as our young people are concerned. And we're going to have an amazing conversation. First of all, just get to understand why, okay? Why do we need more TVETs, especially in the African continent? And number two, the impact of TVET so far, and are we there yet when we talk about TVET, and of course, really talk about the future of work right about now, okay? And it's going to be an amazing conversation. My guest today, we have Mr. Samuel Otieno, who is a Director of Advocacy and Partnerships from Zizi Afrique Foundation. Good to have you this morning, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, Winnie.
All right, karibu sana.
Good morning, viewers.
All right, and we also have Redemptor Mbone, who is a TVET trainee from Kibondeni College. Good to have you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Winnie.
It's like you got a memo. Okay, Samuel, you got a memo kidogo. But you all look lovely this morning. Before we talk about TVET and the future of work and all those things, right? Can we first of all get to understand Zizi Afrique Foundation? Who are you and why is today's conversation so important to you?
Thank you very much, Winnie, and thank you for having us. And good morning, viewers. So Zizi Afrique Foundation is a not-for-profit company that was registered in 2018 in Kenya. And our work basically is to generate and to consolidate evidence on learning. And our focus is foundational skills. So looking at learning from the literacy, numeracy, values and life skills point of view. But we also work in supporting TVET education, technical vocational education training in Kenya by ensuring that there is more access, quality, but also improving the curriculum to embed some really key competencies that young people need to survive and thrive in the 21st century and beyond. All
right. So what is it that you've noticed, over time, and especially as far as, our education system is concerned, and now that we'll be talking about TVETs today, what is it that maybe concerns you, but also you're, I would say, proud that maybe we are on the right path?
Now first, Winnie, I think I need to put this into context. And Kenya is one of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And statistics have consistently shown that sub-Saharan Africa has got the youngest population. And by very conservative estimates, it's estimated that by 2030, which is just 5 years to come,
it's not too far from now,
we'll have around 375 million young people who would be in the job market. And so this has become now an issue of a priority and a major concern in terms of how we deliver education, so that the education that we deliver is able to help this group of young people to be able to get opportunities in life. So there is the challenge around governments, how governments need to tap into this dividend. Where you have got more young people, it means there is more energy, they are more energetic, they are more knowledgeable, their life is also powered by technology, and therefore you need to take advantage of them. And that requires a lot of planning and a lot of focus on generating opportunities and preparing young people for the future of work, so that we have young people who contribute to the development of their countries, because the opposite of that would mean probably something really negative. Absolutely. If you have all these young people,
I mean,
who can't get jobs.
Right, and the skills, goes untapped, and, the talents and all those things that, like you said, they have more energy. And we have Redemptor with us this morning. So Redemptor, let's hear your story a little bit. I mean, you're still a young person, right? You are still in college.
Yes.
And I want to understand why TVET. Okay, and a little bit of your experience. And the reason why I'm asking is because majority of the times when you hear TVETs, people would say, the ones who did not do too well, in school, and so they cannot probably qualify to go to campus and all that. So there's a lot of negatives, surrounding TVETs. But over time, we've seen a lot of positives, right? Yes. So what is your story? What is your experience?
Thank you, Winnie. For me, I chose TVET because TVET is there to support young people, to equip people with skills that they lack. People tend to think negatively about the TVET vocation, but on the ground, things are different. We, the young people, we know that we need these skills. Despite our challenges, TVET is there. It equips us with the skills that we really, really need to help us enhance our future. So despite people looking down on the TVET people, for me, I take it as an opportunity because at the end of the day, it's all about my future, where I want to see myself in the next 5 years to come. So it is for I to take it positively and to have a positive mindset to ensure that I'm securing something for myself and for my family.
I like the fact that you're emphasizing on my future.
Because it's all about me, not about my parents. They already did their part. It's now for me to do my part.
And someone would ask, then how different is it? Like, how different is it as compared to maybe like a college or, university, that what you're saying is like preparing me for the job market, and not just for now, but also for the, so how different is it based on your experience?
Based on my experience, for TVET, like right now, we have the dual training thing. For instance, we do I go to class Monday and Tuesday, then Wednesday to Friday, I'm attached in Kempinski for my dual training. You see, with the theory that I get in school, when I go for the dual training, I get to meet with real life, reality, what is happening on the ground. So TVET has been very useful and has really impacted on me.
So it's more hands-on.
Hands-on.
As compared to maybe you study for like 3 years and then you go for your internship for like 3 months and then that's it, you graduate and then end of. So it's more of, yes, you still get the skills that you need, sort of like theory, but you also get the practical part of this thing. Okay. And again, like you said earlier on, we need more TVET institutions right here in the country, right? So I'm trying to understand, so from where you stand, where are we? What is the biggest challenge? And I know those are like 3-in-1 questions. But let's start with where we are now as a country, as Kenya, because there has been a lot of conversations surrounding TVET institutions.
As an organization, I would just like to mention that we've worked with around 47 TVET institutions across 24 counties. And the work that we've done with them revolves around supporting or enriching the curriculum so that the curriculum contains the competencies that young people would need that go beyond just the skill. Because one of the challenges of TVET education in this country has always been the fact that sometimes we churn out graduates from TVET who are not necessarily up to date with a lot of even the technologies that we have. But most importantly also, there's these soft skills that people need to possess to thrive in the modern world. Things like communication. You perhaps have a very good tailor somewhere who has got very bad communication skills, but they'll do you a very nice dress. You perhaps have a mechanic somewhere who would not keep time, who would not adhere to timeline. So trying to put in these soft skills, skills around communication, problem solving, collaboration and working with others, issues around, digital literacy are very crucial when it comes to making TVET work for us. But I think you also raised a very fundamental question, and Redemptor alluded to it. The issue of how we view TVET in this country has been the major challenge. And because the framing of TVET, the framing and the introduction of TVET, and this year, Kenya celebrated 100 years of TVET education in Kenya. So the perception around TVET has always been that it's the place where people who fail exams go. And our teachers and our leaders have not done much in trying to clean that image. But one of the things we've done, we've worked with 6 county governments across the country to make TVET, to make TVET cool, to come up with a communication strategy, what we're calling the National Integrated TVET Communication Strategy. So which basically seeks to to rebrand TVET as a very formal pathway to youth empowerment, but also to job creation in this country. Of course, there are many challenges that still exist. I think when it comes to, and you know, there are different levels of TVETs. So you have got the national polytechnics, the vocational training colleges. At that level, those are under the national government. But then you've got the vocational training centers, which are actually handled by the county. There's been progress that has been made in the last few years in making sure that the number of these TVET institutions increase. But I think there are still challenges related to infrastructure. So you have an institution, yes, but do we have the requisite infrastructure to be able to ensure that the young people acquire the skills that they need? The second issue has got to do with the variety of offerings. So maybe she does something in hospitality, but maybe there could be a TVET near her home, but that doesn't offer that. So how do we make the TVETs have a wider variety of courses? Then, of course, there is the issue also of quality. How do we resource these trainers and teachers? Are we providing enough teaching materials? Are we providing, if it's motor vehicle mechanics, are we providing engines that are modern? Because you go to some of the institutions, they're using the engines that were
used to like 1962.
Exactly.
But
also there is a much more bigger policy issue that needs to be discussed. How do you ensure that there is sufficient funding for the students themselves? And you've seen a lot of hue and cry around the funding models that has been proposed, which is being implemented actually. It's now no longer a proposal. And there are concerns around equity. There are concerns of how do you provide opportunities for young people who are most left behind or who are living in adversity or who are probably coming from lower income families to be able also to access TVET. Because the lower you go, when you reach the vocational training centers at the village level, there is an even more serious need for support for those families to be able to take their children there.
So there's a lot of challenges, but then again, I usually say where there's a lot of challenges, there's also a lot of opportunities, right? And we will talk about, the different opportunities that are available, just to make sure that then we do not compromise on what is being offered, in TVET institutions as compared to, let's say, in a university and all those things. So Redemptor, for you, you said one of the biggest things is the fact that you get more hands-on skills, other than just sitting in class and being taught about, this is how you do what you do. For example, you are in hospitality, right? Yes. So describe your day. Like you said, Monday through Wednesday, you are, you go to school, learn all those things, and then Thursday, Friday, you are attached, right? So then, what does that day sort of like look like for you? I'm sure there's someone who's very curious to understand, oh, okay, so how is it different?
Okay, for me, it's very different because you see, as I mentioned earlier, we have a schedule. Mine starts from Monday to Friday. Monday and Tuesday, I'm in class. I'm doing my theory sessions. Then Wednesday to Friday, as I mentioned, I'm in Kempinski. In Kempinski, they offer us we rotate into different departments. We have kitchen, we have housekeeping, we have the laundry and service. Currently, I am at the service department where I get to serve and interact with the guests. So for me, that is something that is really nice, that I already know how I should go about it. Being given that chance at Kempinski is really challenging me and assuring me in future, if I've decided to settle on this, this is what I should be doing, and this is how I should improve on it.
Okay. So let's talk about the conversations that you have with your peers, right? First of all, the first time you said, listen, I'm going to a TVET institution, okay? What was the reaction either from your friends, your family members, maybe? What was that? What was that like?
Okay, first it was so challenging because, people have high expectations of you, like you have to do this and to do that. But as I mentioned earlier, even if people don't take it positively, I can't sit down and condemn myself and take it negatively because I really need to focus. I need to build myself. as much as people won't take it positively, they will be there judging you like, why did you end up in TVET? Why didn't you go to a university? At the end of the day, that shouldn't matter. You just ensure that you have your papers, you have the skills that you need to be someone in future.
Okay. Yes. And you know, there's a study that was shared, and I read this in our Daily Nation still on you know, TVET. And there was, again, this is by the British Council, which indicates that as many as 65% of today's students will be employed in jobs that do not yet exist. Right? Yeah. Up until now. And now understanding this, and it's a bit scary, right? Yeah. To figure that out. And the biggest question is then, how do we prepare these young people for jobs that do not exist at the moment? But again, like you said, 2030 is like literally 5 years from now, and I want to believe things will be absolutely different, you know, come 2030. So this whole aspect about preparing students for jobs that do not exist yet. So then how different should we sort of like tune our model of learning? And this is both, again, TVETs, since we're focusing on TVETs today. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of opportunities, and there is a great move and recognition that the future of work would look very differently. Yeah. I don't know if your job and my job would be available in the few years to come. So if there is a child perhaps who wants to be like Winnie, then it's the work of the parents and the government to really think about
prepare them for that.
Whether I don't know if the job of a journalist will be there.
Yes, they will.
But the import of that is that anybody who is enrolling their child in school now, you cannot ask them the same questions we used to be asked. What do you want to do when you grow up? Because some of those jobs would actually be extinct.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the world is moving very fast and now powered by technology, issues to do with artificial intelligence. You recently, I think you saw a clip trending of a restaurant where a robot is serving customers. So that then says, as you prepare a Redemptor in the hospitality industry, Redemptor must be equipped with some of the skills that go beyond just service. And so one of the ways to do that is to make our education system to be responsive but also anticipative of the changes that will happen.
I hear that, yeah.
So that we will no longer be boxing children into just passing exams, but really creating children who possess competencies that are required for this century. And we are talking about issues like problem solving, for example, which is going to be a very critical one. We are talking about creativity and innovation. How do we come up with teaching methodologies or pedagogies that support children to be innovators? How do we support our children to get out of the system when they have got you know, digital literacy that can help them engage at a very global level? You've seen a lot of jobs emerging in the area of you know, online jobs. Areas around blockchain, technology, issues around the shared economy. That is why we have the Ubers of this world. They don't own any vehicle, but, you know, they have taxis all over the world. And so how do you get young people to get to that level where there is greater value addition, there is greater service excellence if they are in the service industry, but they're also being able to harness the power of technology to be able to go beyond what the robots will be able to do. I think that is going to be very critical, and that speaks to the need for us to reimagine our education system, but also to invest on innovation and a few opportunities that I think are very important, and I'm glad that Kiboneni is already doing such a thing. So there was always a mismatch where you have got people who graduate from the TVETs, they have got a lot of theory, but no practical skills. So that blend that is already happening is a very important one. But I think the other one is that we must invest in business incubation. So these young people who are coming out of these TVETs, you have mechanics, you have got electricians, you have got... How do we fund or support these groups of young people to be able to innovate? We still import everything from China, including some of the things that we could actually do locally.
Yeah.
Then there is the whole issue of linking them also to the industry. We should have a system, and like at Zizi Afrique Foundation, we have a project called the Future of Work.
Okay.
And basically what we are doing is we are beginning to set up what we are calling an observatory for jobs.
All right.
So that every time when we end a financial year, we should be able to know these are the number of plumbers that might be needed by the market.
Okay.
So that then that informs the intake and the number of students that you absorb.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So that is just one of the things that we're doing. But there is also something really important around linkages to markets.
And
So
not just like local markets, we're talking about like because we're very interconnected right now.
Exactly.
And I remember there was a time we were also having same conversation still on TVET. And the biggest issue was on the fact that yes, we are a global market, right?
Yes.
So what is being offered here versus what is being offered outside, and how do we prepare our learners not to just focus on fine, malize shule, get a job, here locally, but really also look at what else can I gain from, the TVET institutions here, but still put me at a very good place, competitiveness, right? When we're looking at the global market.
Exactly.
And you're saying, so we need to prepare our learners.
Yeah, to be able to exploit those markets.
Okay.
If somebody has graduated with carpentry skills, the question is, we need to give this person information, or this information has to be available.
Yeah.
What are the trends in the furniture industry, for example, and what are the trends in terms of the makes and the models, and what is trending nationally? Would a carpenter here be able to? Sorry, would a carpenter, for instance, be able to manufacture seats,
right?
That would be sold in Europe, for example,
somewhere else.
And these young people, and our young people have got an advantage. With technology, we can be able to create linkages with industries beyond our borders.
Yeah.
So that they're able to have that knowledge transfer, and they're updated to the new trends in the market and the demands that they need to satisfy. But I think the problem has always been that because of lack of support, sometimes these young people might graduate and maybe go back up country, and maybe the market that they have up country might not necessarily even be receptive to the things that they do.
That's true.
Then there is the whole issue of continuous development again. Again, we have to build it, we have to inculcate it in our young people that even after you've graduated with this skill, it's not enough. How do you keep improving yourselves? And now we even have the National Qualification Framework, which envisages a situation where you could have gone the TVET way, but I think as you continue to advance, there are equivalencies to whether it's a diploma, a degree, a master's, and hopefully even a PhD.
Right. I mean, we're talking about upskilling, which is one of the things that we've had a lot of conversations around. All right. Redemptor, and I'm just going to go back to what Samuel pointed out that, back a few years ago, we used to hear, oh, robots are doing this. Even us in this field in journalism, I saw some of those videos, and I would not lie. We were scared. We were like, hey, it's 5 years from now. Now what do we do, okay? And it's here now with us right here in the country, and everybody's like, hey, okay, so what's going to happen to us and all those things? So for you as a person in hospitality and seeing all those changes that are happening, technology taking shape, does this sort of like scare you, or does it like fuel you to, improve on your skills, in the field that you're in, which is hospitality?
As we have all mentioned, things are moving rapidly. Technology is really booming. Things are moving digital. So, for me, I will take it as a challenge. I have now to upskill my skills.
All right.
What this robot can do, I should be in a position to do more better, so that.
And there's some things that they can't do that you can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So you have to make sure, as technology grows, you also enhance your skill, you upskill and become a better person.
Okay. I'm just going to dig deeper into that and say, hey, so what are you doing exactly? I know someone mentioned earlier on soft skills, which is a very big conversation right now, because Kitambo used to go to school, get a job, get married, get kids, all those things. But right now, there's a lot of emphasis on soft skills as well, right? So I'll come back to and ask you more on soft skills, but as an individual, as a redemptor, okay, what is it that you're doing that I would say you're doing different to put you at a competitive, place when it comes to, the job market, aside from the skills that you're learning in school? Yeah.
So for that, I would say about flexibility. You have to be flexible.
Okay.
You have to enhance whatever is coming, like to challenge yourself. You have to get the skills, as I mentioned, and accept that things are moving.
Okay.
So flexibility, you don't have just to have one single mindset that if I get stuck here, I can't
Then
do anything else.
It's the end of the world.
No, you
Yeah.
have to be flexible. You have to think ahead, plan ahead, and look for solution. Like if you have a problem, you have to be a critical thinker. What will I do if I find myself in this situation?
All right. Okay. I really like that critical thinking. One of the things that we really talk about right now. And you also, again, put more emphasis on, again, we talked about, digital literacy, which is very important right now. And we're seeing even our parents, grandparents, my grandma is watching this morning, hi, they're trying to, trying to upskill, in that level. Because back then it was more of, I'm not gonna try and learn all those things. But what we're seeing right now is a little bit different, right? So why now? And I'm asking that question very carefully because I know we've talked about it a little bit more. But why now? Why that more emphasis now? And, put in mind the whole aspect about jobs that do not yet exist. Yeah.
Now, I would like to say that, first of all, I think maybe just to, again, put into context the terminology that we use. We're using soft skills. Some people call them 21st century skills. The basic education curriculum framework calls them core competencies. Others call them values and life skills. And I think not to be lost in the translation, I think the whole idea is that these are skills that predispose someone to be able to fit in the current world.
Yeah.
We've always needed these skills.
Yeah.
Since maybe the origin of humanity, and every time our education system, there has been a task force to review our education system. These are issues that have always come up.
Yeah.
But you ask a very fundamental question, why
now?
Now, we must agree that we are living in a rapidly changing world, and it's moving very fast, and things keep changing. And the world, after the drive for globalization in the last decade, there was the recognition that the world is now becoming a global village, and so there are no longer confines of geography where you feel because you are in Africa there are things you can't do, or there is information that you can't access, and then powered with a lot of access to information as well. It means, one, people really need to be able to master these skills, because the skills are becoming extremely important, because if you can't be a critical thinker now, perhaps even moving around Nairobi city would be a problem for you. If you are not a problem solver, we are facing even more complex problems. I think in the past maybe problems would be worse. Maybe it would be an accident with a bicycle or something, But there are also jobs that have come up that demand a higher level of thinking.
Soft skills,
And technology is becoming something that you cannot wish away.
Yeah.
And so we are finding ourselves in a situation where, for us to be able to live and thrive in this particular context, you really have to have these skills. There have been reports from employers pointing to things like, we are getting graduates from the university and from the colleges, but when you bring them to the workplace, they can't do a simple report, they can't do what and what. Some of them can't work with others in the working environment. You have those who do not think very critically, and now we are in the era where you really have to go deeper into things, because there's a lot of information available, so you wouldn't give any light information. Even in the classroom, the teachers are now dealing with very complex children. Children who perhaps have got a lot of access to information and technology than even the teacher, him or herself. And so these are skills that have always been important for us,
Yeah.
but they have become extremely important because of the nature of our world and how fast it's changing, and how the demands of the current life and work are becoming more complex.
Yeah.
And therefore, our work, for example, there is something we call embedding whole youth development. So basically looking at youth holistically.
Yeah.
So there'll be some level of literacy, numeracy.
Yeah.
You must have some, you know, the skills you get in TVET.
People skills as well.
But they must be accompanied by some competencies, but also values. When we talk about values like honesty, values like respect.
Yeah, and the fact that we're living, I mean, right now we focus more on convenience, okay?
Yeah.
So if I come to Redemptor, I'd like to have this and this and this, and then Redemptor takes like 15 hours before I get, you know, the service that I need. Or the service is not good, or she talks to me in a way that I feel, I will not come back, okay?
Yeah.
So understanding the whole aspect about convenience, but also why, you know, the core competencies, you know, are important. I think it's very critical. So I'll come back to you, Redemptor, to understand. So then, how are you preparing yourself in, you know, in that aspect? Because again, the industry that you are in, it's very critical, right? But let's take a break. When we come back, because I do not want to rush you through it. But if you are a learner again watching us this morning, either in TVET, again, share your experience as well with us on at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, or give us a call. The numbers will be down in a minute. But we'll see you after the break. All right, welcome back. The show is Your World, 33 minutes past the hour. Time really flies, and there's so much that we need to discuss as far as the future of work, and we're looking at the impact that the TVET institutions have as far as preparing our learners and our young people, like we said earlier on, for jobs that do not even exist yet. All right, so then how do we prepare our learners so that come 2030 and, you know, the years after, we're not caught off guard? We're like, okay, so what do we do? How do we navigate this? And also putting into consideration the fact that we said we live in a world where we're very much interconnected, and we do not look at just working locally, all right? A lot of people are also looking to explore opportunities outside the country. So the big question is, so then how do we prepare them for jobs outside the country, all right? And still offering good quality, you know, services when it comes to like learning and, you know, in the job market as well. And there's something that the UN actually said as far as TVET are concerned. So I'm just going to read some of the statements. And they said that the TVET can also improve the responsiveness of changing skill demands by companies and communities, increase productivity and increase wage levels. TVETs can reduce access barriers to the world of work, for example, through work-based learning, which is what you mentioned, Redemptor, right? And ensuring that skills gained are recognized and certified. And they also said that TVETs can also offer skills development opportunities for low-skilled people who are under or unemployed, out-of-school youth and individuals not in education, employment, and training. And of course, the biggest question is, you know, some of the skills that we talked about earlier on, and especially when it comes to the soft skills. So Redemptor, for you, understanding the ever-changing nature as far as the workplaces are concerned. So like I said, how are you preparing yourself for the same? What are some of these interesting things that you learned probably about yourself that you didn't know that you had in you, given the industry that you are in?
Okay. Let's talk about, for example, the life skills that we are taught. Like in my college, we are taught about ethics, morals, like, for example, about honesty, competency, like you should be agile. You know, like our industry needs people who are very agile, who you need to think and act quickly. Like, you shouldn't get stuck just in a situation. You should think about it. So if we have these skills, like I've mentioned honesty, people outside there are looking for people to employ who are honest. You will not steal from someone. You will not rob anyone's property. So when we have these skills, we are really getting ready for the industry. We already know the moral values that we should have, regardless of having these skills. Yes. All
right. Are there challenges that maybe you have experienced? I mean, I know we're talking about how TVET can help, you know, improve, first of all, not just the quality of the workforce that we have, but also ensuring that we close that gap as far as unemployment is concerned. But as a student, as a learner right now, are there some of the challenges that maybe you have experienced in your time in school?
I would say for the TVET people, we have the inadequate fundings. We don't get that support that we feel like we should get.
Right.
That has become a challenge for us, the TVET students.
Right.
Like, for example, you'd start your course hoping that you will get a donation from somewhere. Then at the middle of the course, things get stuck. You don't know what to do. You don't have fee. So you end up quitting the course. After quitting that course, where do you go? So you see, as the TVET students, that is one of the major challenges we are facing.
Yeah.
So for me, I would urge those people in the society that are able to support a child out there to educate them.
Yeah.
Please give someone an opportunity, impact a skill in someone. Let's not lose these youth because of not being able to pay their fees.
They can't afford to,
yes,
to go to school. I really like that, but I also come back to you to understand. So then, what can be done different? I know there's a lot of emphasis on free education, and not just free, but quality education, you know, for our children. And we're talking now about primary schools and high schools as well. So we want to understand, so then what more can be done from like a government's perspective, okay, to support more learners, so that, again, like he said, no child or no learner will stay at home just because they can't afford to go to school. But so then let's understand. We talked about some of the challenges and the opportunities, you know, that are available. Right. But then again, you talked about investments, and a lot of investments need to be put into TVET institutions so that, again, we're able to support the learners, but also ensuring quality. So what sort of investments are we looking at, and to what magnitude would you say?
Okay. Now, I would also like to mention that we work in this field with a number of partners. Yeah. So you have got the Ministry of Education, the State Department of TVET, you have the TVET Authority, you have the TVET CDAC, which is in charge of the TVET curriculum, and you have also the Kenya School of TVET, because you also have to look at how you prepare the trainers who are going to be training in TVET, so that when we are speaking about some of these core competencies that are becoming really important, the teachers leave the college with also that knowledge, because you can only impart what you have.
What you have to.
And what you know about. And one of the investments that needed to be happening, and which we've been a great part of, is strengthening this curriculum to include these core competencies and skills. Remember, we are talking about competency-based curriculum at the primary school and secondary school level now. But I think also we believe very strongly that that kind of thinking
can
should
be extended as well.
Be taken as well to the TVET. For simple reasons that you want to enhance the quality of what the students get from TVET, but also you want to enhance people's employability, work productivity, and even resilience, you know, to the many challenges. And so the socio-emotional kind of, you know, things are also supposed to play a part in preparing these young people. But I think in terms of investment from government, I think one of the key things is that we must be deliberate, because I think we had a season where we had very good national polytechnics, which ended up all becoming universities. And so there was a gap that was left. Of course, we still have a few national polytechnics, but they may not be enough, looking at the number of skills, the kind of workforce that we need.
Okay.
So there must be a very deliberate effort to be able to fund TVET directly, because recognizing that it's an area where there is now a lot of growth in terms of even the number of students going for that. There have been cases where, you know, there have been stories of young people who perform very well in high school, and instead of going to the university, they opt to go to TVET.
TVET, yeah.
And we need to look at TVET as something that can actually even have a multiplier effect on creating opportunities for young people. So the funding must be delivered right from the county governments, and especially at the local level. I think counties have not done very well in ensuring that the vocational training centers within their jurisdiction are first, have got the right infrastructure. If you look at allocations, and one of these days we are having meetings with people in charge of TVET in the counties, and most of them tell you, their governors would rather prefer going to give bursaries than allocating money to TVET, because bursaries gives you some mileage. You can you can go to you can go to a social hall or a or an open ground and help you know, and get political mileage out of it. So we must change our attitude towards TVET, ensure that there is sufficient allocation of funds for infrastructure, funds for management, things like maintenance, but also just ensuring that we map very clearly some of the skills that we need and we deliberately invest in them. If we are coming from, if it's a county that is in a place like Mombasa, where there are all those issues around the blue economy, how do you harness that local resource to ensure you're producing people who have skills that can tap into that that resource? There are also there are also issues around now. Let's say, you know, the county government itself will be buying furniture every year. How many counties, for example, have given opportunities for these young people who come from these places to be able to, How many counties are deliberately looking at, you know, coming up with incubation centers, you know, a place where, you know, young people just come and do what they need to do. One of our projects is called Green Business, which is basically supporting TVETs, actually supporting youth and women to develop skills that support them in food production, environmental conservation, and enhancing, you know, the livelihoods of their families.
All right.
And this has been a very successful one, so that you're teaching people skills like maybe horticulture, for example, depending on where they come from, and then linking them to places where they can get the skill, the practical skills, but also giving them skills like entrepreneurship. I think one of the other challenges has always been that even the graduates from TVET and even their trainers do not necessarily impart in these young people skills that make them believe this skill that I have could be something that could be an investment that generates jobs. Most of them are still at the level where they want to get out of that place and maybe start a job. And even when they start a job, they might not look at it like this is something that I could grow to be able to even train more young people in this particular thing. So entrepreneurship skills, really important. Linking them to markets, being deliberate about consuming local products. I think it's really critical. But for us to be able to do that, we must also support these young people so that the quality that they are producing is actually quality that will be needed, right? If it's a couch, you know, it would be the one that Winnie would be happy to have in the house rather than going for the imported furniture. So to me, infrastructure, investing in the curriculum and making sure that our curriculum is up to date, investing in teachers, so pre-service and even in service, to ensure that even our trainers also get updated on new technologies, on new ways of teaching, on new areas of work. As we are thinking about the 65% jobs that do not exist yet, which is very, so it has to be really, it has to be really deliberate. It has and all round, really. And all round, based on what you said. And at the same time, so right investments need to be put in place, but there's also this other aspect of attitude, which again we talked about earlier on when we started the show, and said a lot of people, when you think about TVET institutions, we usually go to the negatives. And it's so interesting because when I was preparing for this, I listened to one lady's story, and she's in ICT, I think, and she said, so she went to a TVET institution, got all the necessary skills, you know, that she needed. She now has her own company, and she was saying, looking at the employability, she would actually prefer to get, you know, employees from TVET institutions as compared to university institutions, because they already have the hands-on skill. It's not like they will come and then she has to teach them, this is how you do this is how you do that, and all those things. So it's interesting to see how, you know, things are shifting, which is nice. So Redemptor, for that young person who's watching you this morning and thinking, hey,
okay, fine, I hear you, right? And I want to shift my attitude towards TVET institutions. What is it that you would say, and not just to the students, but also to the parents as well, and then we'll talk about the governments and county governments as we continue. But really, as far as changing our attitudes towards TVET institutions, what would you say now that you're in there?
What I would say, people should just have positivity. We should leave the bad energy and the negativity behind us. We're in the 21st century. People of different fields, at the end of the day, we shall meet somewhere. True. And what will bring us together is the skills that you have. Regardless of the institution that you went, if I have the skills, you also possess the skill. It means we should be able to work together and produce whatever we have to. So we should just have a positive mind towards TVET, and we shouldn't discourage those who are already in TVET and like look down on them. Just give them the moral support that they need. And being there, be focused, know what took you into that TVET. Yeah, just know what brought you there and work towards it.
Yeah, and you said the experience has been really amazing because now of the dual learning, you know, model, which is fantastic. So what is it that you foresee, you know, as far as not just the future of TVET, but really the future for yourself, given that we're preparing learners for jobs that do not even exist here. So what is it that you foresee as far as, you know, TVET and yourself really?
For me, for example, I foresee myself, as long as I have these skills, I am assured of something in the future. Okay. For instance, let's say I aspire to start like my own business, and the aim for me of starting that business is also to create employment. True. I want to give back to the society the way someone else gave back to me. Like, for example, the Zizi Foundation, really gave a scholarship to people that really made their future. The same thing that I would want to give back to the society. I want to empower this certain person who didn't have the way to go. Like, she was stuck, she didn't have any means.
Might not otherwise have the opportunity to actually just go to school and get the skills that they need. Oh, I really like that. Giving and just thinking about not just getting a job for myself, but also impacting the society, you know, in one way or the other. That's really, really nice to see. And all the very best. We hope when you start your own business, call us. Number one customer. Thank you. And all those things. All right. So let's look at the bigger picture. And this is as far as governments investing into, you know, the TVET institutions. What is the impact of that? I know we've talked about the impact of TVET institutions, you know, themselves, but to a larger scale, to, you know, the country and contributing to, you know, the different economies. What would you say the TVET institutions, you know, what role do they play as far as, you know, maybe improving economies, say to governments?
I mean, if you were to look at the big picture, you got to appreciate that our current structure in terms of our demographics have youths as the majority of the population, and if you have this majority of the as the majority of the population, you definitely want to harness the potential and the dividends that they bring. So you have as a country to think about how do you meaningfully engage these people, and that would require a lot of creation of opportunities for them to participate in not just their personal development and harnessing these opportunities for their own economic empowerment, but for the country, because that would have a contribution to our GDP, a contribution to productivity as a nation, contribution to our innovation, you know, as an economy. You know, when we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, TVETs have got a very good opportunity to be able to spur that and be able to help us, because as it has always been said, actually, that if you look at the only continent that has got greater new opportunities is actually Africa.
The African continent,
But there is also a very important bit around equity and inclusion that comes in. Our education system has been geared for a long time in giving those people who are cognitively gifted all the opportunities and leaving people who might not necessarily be able to perform extremely well in our examination system. So how do you create pathways to ensure that there is something for everyone within the economy and within the market? And I think TVETs provide this opportunity to harness the different talents and abilities that young people have. Therefore, there is an equity perspective to it. Another issue is actually, if you were to refer to the recent Gen Z issue, we are not going to have young people who are well trained and have got skills that make them have a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose in their life, then we are setting ourselves up for disaster. You hear Redemptor is talking about she likes what she's doing because she sees a future. She's looking up to something. But I think the challenge has been that we are in a society where not so many young people have got something to look up to tomorrow. When they are going to the industrial area to look for jobs, is there a specific skill or a specific job they're looking for? Most of them do not have these skills. And so it's about going down to the very local level and ensuring that no young person would miss an opportunity to learn a skill. Because the moment you do that, then again, you support the whole building of cohesion and ensuring peace and security.
Absolutely.
Or else they'll run presidents out of town, they'll run governors out of town. But lastly, and most importantly, there is the issue you mentioned around being globally competitive. But we are a member of a community of nations. So there must be a sense in which we deliberately work towards ensuring that our young people can compete favorably with other young people from other parts of the world. And TVETs provide that that great opportunity. But also, but also, even just as you look at where we want to go, we used to talk about things like agriculture is the backbone of the country. And some of the challenges why agriculture is no longer doing very well is because of mechanization of farming that has been happening across the world. But we seem to be very slow on this. So how do we again deliberately say sectors such as agriculture, perhaps we need to come up with incentives and very deliberate kind of knowledge transfer that our young people are able to produce maybe equipment or things that can help us then spur. So some of these skills can also be used to spur growth and development in other sectors that are not necessarily skills oriented.
I really like that, and the whole aspect what you brought about, and this is as far as social stability, peace and security, is concerned. We had another conversation still on TVET and their role, in contributing towards peace and stability, and the fact that we need to look at this wholesomely, not just we're giving you skills that you need in the job market, all those things, but also on a larger scale, contribute, especially towards peace and stability, which is very key. Okay, we have literally 2 minutes before we need to end the conversation. So Redemptor, I'll come back to you to understand. So you talked about how support is very important. And if more people, more partners again, like Zizi Afrique Foundation, for example, and others come together and support some of these learners who otherwise might not have the opportunity to go to school, that would contribute immensely towards, of course, closing the unemployment gap, but also improving people's skills, right? But on a larger scale, as far as the government is concerned, what is it that you want to see? How does support look like, from the government's perspective, such that you'd look back and say, you know what? That is really good. We did well.
Okay, for me, I think the government, let's say, like, they're trying their level best to offer, like, the bursaries and all that. That we appreciate, and as the TVET students, we really appreciate for that. But we'll really encourage them to continue supporting more of the TVET students. And really focus on them, like they focus on other students, like the university students and others. They should also consider the TVET people.
All right. Annie, you mentioned the funding model. I don't know how that is, say, for you and, let's say, your fellow learners, and what is it that you'd want to see change as far as funding model?
For me, I would really like to see that we, the TVET people, like I have mentioned, we are like given the opportunity. When we apply for these scholarships, sponsorships, we are given so that we don't feel like we are left out, like no one cares about us, like the university people are more cared for than the TVET
like
people.
Given more priority as compared to the TVET learners. Okay, all right. For the funding model as well, I know you talked about this earlier on and said that is a very big issue right now. So what opportunities are available to see that change so that, you know, more learners like Redemptor who says we need we need some of these opportunities here?
Yeah, I think there is a fundamental concern around the funding model, that it's not, that the model they are using to grade students on their level of need isn't working very well. Yeah. We've had cases of, you know, children from extremely poor backgrounds being put in different bands that do not give them enough support. Yeah. We've had cases of, and this has been a problem with bursaries across this country. We've got cases where people who are connected individuals seem to get the biggest amount of bursaries, and sometimes they even get more than one bursary, and we have somebody who is losing. So I think the major concern is how do you focus where the need is greatest? And my personal opinion would be that, one, we perhaps need a different funding model for TVET. Okay. You don't lump it together with higher education in the university. Right. But there is also a level, a part of TVET that has not been factored in. The vocational training centers, which are at the local level. How then do we, because when you go there, because these are mostly in the villages and the rural areas, that is where there is the greatest need. When you're talking about poverty levels, when you're talking about, you know, poor infrastructure. Yeah. So how do you have a model that supports the growth of these vocational training centers to be able to give the quality that is required? That is needed, but again, how do you also ensure that you support students? My thinking, maybe I'm over dreaming, but my thinking would be at VTC level, at that vocational training center level, I think education should be free. Right? Yeah, I think the vocational training centers should be free. If we are depending on these young people to be the ones to help us spur our economic growth and transform our country, then we should say we are building a critical mass of so many young people who have these skills. We should just make it free.
I see that. And we hope that one day we'll have that conversation and say, yeah, it's absolutely free for everyone to access. But allow us to say goodbye. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Samuel Otieno, who's Director of Advocacy and Partnerships from Zizi Afrique Foundation, and Redemptor Mbone, who is a TVET trainee from Kibondeni College. Thank you so much for coming by and sharing your experience as well. And we hope that we'll continue with this conversation. It doesn't really have to end here. Our socials are at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X and on YouTube as well, and visit our website, and that is at ntvkenya.co.ke. But for now, have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Your World. My name is Winnie Lundende. God bless. Have a lovely day.